It's another beautiful Wednesday. Hoping y'all are doing well. Tonight, we're going to answer a question that y'all asked. Who are they? When people say they, them, who are they? Y'all asked. We're going to name some names. But before we get into that, and, you know, the other shenanigans we always get into, let me bring up my partner in crime, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. How you doing?
Hey, Jason, of course, your number one partner in crime. And we're not talking Batman and Robin.
Nope. We are a less dynamic duo.
Yeah, I don't have any comment on that one, but I tell you, we are less dynamic.
We are.
As of now.
Yes.
In the future, perhaps not. We might be the two newer superheroes to cross paths.
All I know is I was working out this afternoon before the show and trying to open up the hips a little bit. Yeah, I'm feeling it. So, yeah, I don't think we'll be swinging from rooftops anytime soon, but you never know.
No, I practiced the art of bending over not too long ago.
I'm gonna not follow up on that one.
No backdoor action. Come on.
I didn't say anything.
I know you didn't mean it.
I specifically said I wasn't going to say anything.
You didn't. I know. It's just, like I say, I was talking to some people earlier today, and when I type, I just type. As I think, I type. When you text message people, how you just type, and a lot of and texting is kind of dumb. Listen, I'm good for 1 and 2 sentences, right? Which is fine. That's what it's set up for. But when people want to type paragraphs on a text message, and I respond in a paragraph form, they act like I'm like pissed off at them or something. You got to throw in the emoji to say, no, you're happy when you say this, because a lot of these things can be interpreted as something you totally do not want to communicate.
Yep.
So yeah, text messaging. Hey, listen, I'll give you two sentences, a couple one-liners. If you want to have a discussion, pick it up and call.
Yeah.
That's all. I have no beef. I love texting because it gets to the point when you're to the point.
Yeah.
And
sometimes, exactly like you said, if it's longer than 3 sentences, just call me.
Just call.
It's faster.
And not to mention, my thumbs are fat enough where every other letter is not the right letter. Duck is, the other word, and so on and so forth. I mean, so but then again, it kind of coincides with a little bit of what we're talking about today. When we talk about technology, which, we got a broad list of things to discuss. We've been kind of doing this, Jason, for the last month. It's kind of turned into a series about who are they, right? And a lot of people have been confused, or if you've seen our show from the beginning of the month, you'd be more understanding of it, right, Jason? So tonight's kind of a wrap of everything we've discussed. Is that fair to say?
I think it's very fair to say. Exactly. And like you said, it did sort of turn into its own little series. That wasn't really the plan, but many things are overlapping. You're like, this is sort of a nice way to put that bow on top. Yeah. Because it's like we've actually worked our way up a food chain to a point.
We have really. So, then we kind of brainstormed that. It's like, wow, you know what? This is turning into something. So, as you said, we are going to put the bow on the package as Christmas season is upon us.
And speaking of Christmas season, since Thanksgiving is next week,
yes,
there will not be a live episode of the Serial Papers or this show, Jason McLean Questions Everything, because of the holidays. So this is it, and then we'll come back after Thanksgiving. There is a Monday and Tuesday show, and it occurs to me that those listening on Odyssey may not know, and those who are maybe new to this channel, new to this channel, may not know about all the shows that we have usually during a week.
Yeah, no, they probably don't if they're new, and even if they're current subscribers is, it's always, they always have to be reminded. And the one thing I have to remind everybody is turn on the alert bell. You see, we can do analytics behind the scenes and we can look at all our shows and we see that. And it's really not because of you great folks out in chat. It's not from you people listening. It's not from people listening later. It's an algorithm. YouTube does tend to
turn things off
and turn things off. So please make sure the alert bell on, because that's really important. And another thing for the algorithms, leave a comment. Rob, you suck. Jason, you do not know what you're talking about. Doesn't matter what you say. You write a comment, it helps us along the way.
Yeah. Or you could be kind and say good show, or we love your bandana.
Yes, absolutely. And we do get more nice comments, I must say, though, Jason.
Yes. But again, the whole point is you say banana pancakes. The comments. That's what the algorithm says.
Or just say good thumbs. You can write the words thumbs up or thumbs down. It don't matter.
Yeah.
Anything over 3 letters will suffice.
Yep. That's it.
With that being said, we're on every day of the week, Monday through Friday. Mondays is Texas Front Porch, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Tuesdays, our buddy Bob Van Buren Variety. That's at 8 in the East. Myself, Beyond BMR. That's 9 o'clock in the East. Then that's it on Tuesday. Then Wednesdays is this show, Jason McLean Questions Everything. And that, of course, comes on at 10 in the East. Followed up tomorrow afternoon, or actually, depending where you live, it could be morning or early afternoon, is Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, 1 p.m. in the East. And I see my buddy Steve Stockton out in chat. He will be my guest tomorrow. We'll be talking about missing persons and where does this all originate from. That'd be a fantastic show. Come check that out, 1 in the East.
Oh, absolutely.
And then, of course, that night, Jason, you're back on the air with the Subaru Papers. So that's the 10 in the East.
Yeah, Donnie Cho joins us on that one.
Yeah, and we took on a new show to fill Jessica's spot. Jess, of course, will never be. She's always still a part of the team, but she's doing other work. And Fridays is Blondes and Booze and the Woo. And booze is like boo like a ghost, not booze like 3 bras boozing it up.
You could have said OOZE.
It's
BOOS.
It's BOOS, and that's, of course, at 9 in the East. And they debuted last Friday. It was a very good show. Everybody check it out. And I will mention Jessica Jones, Spaced Out Radio. Check her out Saturday and Sunday night at 10 in the East over there with Dave Scott, good friend of the show, and myself. And go check and subscribe to him. So that kind of wraps it up.
It does. And again, we're live every day of the week at this point. Say howdy in the chat. And we do have super chats are open. Super thanks are open. We do have PayPal if you don't want to give any of your money to YouTube. It's all in the doobly-doo below. All the links to all the channels are in the doobly-doo below. That would be the description for those who are not, connected to the parlance of YouTube.
And for those
of a highly technical word.
And those for you, speaking of a technical word, the doobly-doo for newer listeners, it simply means the about page on YouTube or the description page. In fact, go to all of our pages because we do more than just live shows. We drop videos. I do Bigfoot encounters, creepy encounters. Jason does his biblical studies. Tex drops crazy videos all the time. And so it's pretty fun. Go check them out. There's something for everybody. Highly recommend you subscribe to Texas Front Porch. Serial Papers, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, Van Buren Variety, and Blondes and Booze channel is called Blondes and Booze on YouTube. So
I believe it's an ampersand as well. It's not just and like A&D, it's an ampersand. But again, that's all in the doobly-doo below. Go visit, click.
Go pay a visit.
And remember, if you're like, hey, I really want to support y'all, but I'm months a little long, paycheck's a little tight. We get it. Just share us out to your friends and loved ones and enemies. That's again, liking, and sharing us is the number one way y'all can support us, and we love y'all. Y'all are the best people on the internet, and I'll fight anyone who disagrees with me. Speaking of fighting people, for the record, none of us are suicidal. I'm quite happy at the moment, and yeah, just saying.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going with this.
Yep,
because that's the purpose of today, I think.
Yeah, is to actually answer the question that we've been asked, right?
Yes,
and it's been asked a lot. Who are they? Right.
Yeah.
So, and in fact, and the way it really stood out was, hey, is there actually a they? Right, because it's not just who are, but is they actually a thing, or is it sort of a concept we have in our minds, and there isn't really this unified force, kind of a thing. And I think so many of the things that we talk about on this channel, the answer is yes and no, right? It is kind of a lot of it comes down to how is it you're perceiving, like, what do you have in your head? If the question is, do they exist? I'm gonna be kind. Disappeared. There it is. Be Kind's already had the group on this one. She's ahead. She's ahead of the curve.
Yes,
like so many of y'all are.
Absolutely.
If the idea of they is the fortress of evil in a swamp somewhere where Lex Luthor and others are getting together to plot their villainous ways. Hey, Titan, thank you.
Very awesome of you, Titan. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, Titan. You're the man. We we love you. I'm going to star that one. So again, it's, they are, it's not this comic book villain setup. If it was, it'd be easy, right? We could say, boom, there it is. We're done. It's way more complicated than that.
Moving around the keyboard. Okay.
Yeah,
go ahead,
I saw it. For those, guys, if you're listening on Odyssey, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Thank you for supporting us on Odyssey, but you are missing half this show. It's the visuals. Anyway, again, it is more complicated. It just is. Now, to understand sort of the levels, because again, Arlene, was it Arlene? I just forgot who did that. Yeah, Arlene.
They are punking us. She says.
Yeah, they're punking us. Yeah, the plot twist is I am they. But are there multiple yes, that's the thing. It's a yes and no, because there are multiple theys, right? There are different groups that have similar agendas, but they have differences on the micro level, right? Like they agree on world government, they agree on some of these larger ideas, but they do have disagreements. And there are people who don't want the same thing. So there are these different groups, right? Absolutely. But I want to be able to go beyond saying, is it just the CIA? Is it the deep state? We'll talk about that in more depth in a second. Sure. And I want to go beyond sort of the surface level stuff. And I want to go beyond, we've talked about this a lot, Deuteronomy 38, or 32. Okay, now I'm forgetting. But the spirits over humanity, right? The spirits that are running the nations that Paul talks about. I could easily just say that's it, right? It's Satan and it's these other spirits, and that's it. Well, that's true, but that's also a cop-out, right? I want to be able to say on a real practical level, who are the puppet masters, right? Who are the people actually pulling these strings?
Pulling the strings.
And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And again, it is going to take a little bit of doing.
Jason.
Yep.
Go. Continue, huh?
It's going to take a little bit of doing, but I believe in y'all. I really do.
Jason, I had a meeting with a group, and I made a comment. My phone goes off like religiously all the time.
Yeah.
And you think by now that I'd be turning off my alerts. In fact, I told these people I do that
Yep.
And now if they happen to be watching, like, oh, Rob doesn't really turn off his alerts. Well, actually, I do. Actually, I do. And it continues, Jason.
I love you, Rob. I really do.
I know.
So yeah, so again, it's going to take a little bit of work, but I believe in every one of y'all. I think this is like, there are some audiences I would never try something like this with. I really wouldn't, because we're going to get a little high concept. But the thing is, I believe in y'all. I know y'all are the best people on the internet. Again, like I said, I'll fight anyone, and I get the best side man on the internet. Aside from Tex, we love you,
sure.
Tex.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna do this. The man behind the curtain, as Glenn is saying. Yes, but who? Like, it's not one person. That's sort of the bigger. That is the bigger thought here. But how do they work? Who are these people? And I want to give a few examples of sort of the ideas here, right? Like, how are they interworking? One of the themes that has come up a lot over the last few weeks, right? Is the idea that it isn't that big business has bought big government. Or isn't that big government's controlling big business, is that they're actually they're two hands of the same thing. They work hand in hand. What you get one hand, the government operates in one stream of power. The industries, these large mega corporations, are handling the other side of the coin, right? These aren't mutual. They're not one over the other. They're hand in hand here. And let me give two great examples. Okay. Very publicly, so you can look this all up yourself. Let's go with, and I'm going to do both sides of the political aisle so that no one can accuse me of being political on this. Dick Cheney, the former vice president of the United States of America. He was also the United States Secretary of Defense from 1989 to 1993. He was the House Minority Whip from 1989 to January to March of 1989. He was the chairman of the House Republican Conference from 1987 to 1989. And he was, part of the House of Representatives from 1979 to 1989. On and on, like he was White House Chief of Staff in the 70s. On and on and on. Okay. He's been in there forever, politically. Between 1987, 1990, and 1989, though, he was also part of the Council of Foreign. He's a part of the Council on Foreign Relations. He was on the board of the Council of Foreign Relations. We'll talk about them more here in a second. But he was also part of the American Enterprise Institute, and of course, we know Halliburton. Like, that was a big thing. He was on a board of a number of large companies, Halliburton being the most obvious and the biggest one, right? And so what was happening is that he would be sometimes in office doing official work and be on the boards of some of these larger corporations, or he would go from Secretary of Defense to Halliburton, which work hand in hand. Right, that was one of the big controversies during the W. Bush presidency, was how connected Halliburton was with all the war events, because Halliburton got all these no bid contracts, right?
Yeah,
there you go. And so that's how. And it's not just him. Let's look at Nancy Pelosi. She's been in, not to drag the episode out, I don't want to go through everything, but she's basically been in office since the 70s. They were not worth $100 and something million when they started this whole thing in the 70s. Now, in fact, in 2009, her family wealth was estimated like 50 million. Now it's over 120 million. It doubled when she became Speaker of the House. And so why? Well, it's not her. She's not getting paid that. It's her husband who's making the deals, who's, by the way, able to pick stocks better than Warren Buffett.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. And you could even go back to some unknown families that started out in politics, and there probably a few of them were brought up hardworking middle classers, mom and dad maybe combined for $100 grand, and they had no property, no big wealth or inheritance. Yet, let's just say, throw out a name like John Black, who starts his career in politics. And John Black also now has a net worth of over $5 million. Nothing even major. And certainly it's not from ad campaigns that they were funneling money from, because that certainly is documented and audited.
Oh, yeah.
But you wonder, but no one questions that, do they, Jason?
No, they don't. No, they never question why. To your point, let's use the name Black, Congressman Black. Why say Congressman Black's like, say, I mean, he's only worth a paltry $5 million, but his brother is now worth 20, 30, 40, 50 million dollars because he's building buildings in Afghanistan out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and again, keep in mind, everybody, this is a middle-class family with no inherent wealth to start. And they're not movie stars. They're not in the entertainment business. They are simply, well, the brother, Mr. Black, is a politician, and his brother probably went to an average business school.
Yep.
And got a job all of a sudden out of the country. And now this guy has inherent wealth.
Yeah. And so this is the front face of this.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
Yeah, this is nothing.
Yeah, this is nothing, guys. Again, we're building an argument here on who's actually pulling these strings. Now, please understand, I just described two sides of the political coin here. At least they're supposed to be two different sides, but they're doing the same thing. They're both making money off of the military industrial complex that we've talked about this, right? Remember how the only president to not start a war in the last 30 years was the only time he became presidential to the other side was when he was willing to bomb other countries. Right? That's when he's so presidential right now. He's willing to go to war with Iran. Why is it he's only presidential when he's blowing crap up? Because money. The people that we're talking about, the people who are making these hundreds of millions of dollars through their family members and other projects, they're scamming off the military industrial complex. At the FTX thing right now that's going on with the cryptocurrency, right there, everyone's focusing on the money laundering aspect of it, and that's a big thing. It really is. Where again, remember, people ask, well, where's this money from Ukraine going? That we mentioned, hey, only like 30% of the money is actually getting to Ukraine. Where's the rest of it going? FTX. It was I told you, it was a money laundering scam. But that's only part of this, because that's not where all the money went. That's where some of it went. It is being laundered. It's just being laundered through different ways, to different places. So what we're talking about here is, I want to show it's not necessarily that it's like, it's these politicians. No. What you need to understand is most people didn't know Dick Cheney's name until he became vice president. It's, when he was the chief of staff. How many people know the name of the chief of staff that's operating right now? I mean, most people don't. And that's a pretty prominent position. It's the people who they're just behind the person in front of the camera, right? They're just sitting to the right of them. You never really know their name. And then what they do is they move between politics, and then they go into business, and they go back into politics, and they go back into business. That's how this works. Everyone switches out. Jerome Powell is another great example. He's the one who's running the Fed right now, right? Well, he's been in and out of politics, and when he's not in politics, I know it's like, the Federal Reserve's not politics. Really? Yeah. Yeah. I got a bridge to sell you, if you believe that one. But what does he do when he's not a member of the Fed board? Well, he's at a think tank in Washington. That's where all these guys go. They go to think tanks, or they become professors at Yale, Harvard, UCLA, all kinds of things, right? That's what happens. You go in, you'd do your time, you set things up, and then you go and you wait for your next go around. And that's how this works. You always have a job, and you're No one ever gets too prominent. You say just far enough back, you can manipulate things, but then you don't get caught, essentially. But here's the thing, right? You may be saying, okay, but that just seems like it's a bunch of people with bad ideas or people who have a particular mentality. They're all working. It's all just corruption. It's not a they. Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. We're building a story here. We're building an argument. This is the lowest level, guys. What we just described is the lowest possible level. Let me read you a few quotes, shall we?
Please do, Jason.
This is from David Rockefeller. Okay. His it was either his grandfather or his great grandfather actually lent it was him and JP Morgan. The United States government took loans back when we had a sound fiscal policy from people like JP Morgan and the Rockefellers. Okay. I'm reading a couple of these because these are insane. I honestly, when I read these, I'm like, this is the most insane thing I've read in a long time. And that said something for me. I'm going to start with the second one.
I was going to make a comment.
Yeah, I know. I'd beat you to it.
We did.
For more than this is David Rockefeller. For more than a century, ideological extremists at either end of the political spectrum have seized upon well-publicized incidents, such as my encounter with Castro, to attack the Rockefeller name or family for the inordinate influence they claim we wield over American political and economic institutions. Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interest of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists and conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty and I am proud of it.
Yeah, inner thought processes of the NWO. And, even further back than that, Jason, too, in the 1920s, this stuff was planned out well. This is just not anything new. The seed was planted in the 20s, probably, or before then, correct?
Yeah, about then. Yeah, essentially with the creation of the Fed.
Yes, and then the Freemasons, correct? All of a sudden.
So yeah, again, we're gonna get more into that, but yes, essentially what you've got is people. It's again, the Freemasons are not the man behind the curtain. They're
they're just one of many.
Yeah, this is one of these. They're just one of these groups. But when the creation of the Fed by the banking institutions, that is really when a lot of this got set up. Because remember, there were other attempts to create a centralized banking system within the U.S. There were multiple attempts. This is the one that stuck the longest, right? And so let me get to this other quote that honestly blew my mind a little bit more. And but before I get to that quote, some people may say, well, maybe he's being like a little funny with this whole, I'm proud of trying to create a new world order kind of a thing. His other quote is the supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national autodetermination practiced in past centuries. Mm-hmm. Now, this is the quote that blew my mind, and this is where this is sort of that next step, right? Because if sort of obvious public corruption in the switch between government and private industry is a thing, what's that next level? Well, here it is. We are grateful to the Washington Post, the New York Times, this is David Rockefeller, Time Magazine, and other great publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected their promises of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subjected to the lights of publicity during those years. But the world is more sophisticated and prepared to march towards a world government. The supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national autodetermination practiced in past centuries. This is his quote. He's literally saying, thank you to the large, media corporations who were they heard everything, what we were talking about, and they didn't tell anybody. These are the people who literally called anyone who called this stuff into question conspiracy theorists.
Right.
They knew.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, these guys want to take over the world. They want to create again, literally new world order.
Yeah, and they freely publicize it, Jason. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
None of this is hidden.
No. That's the thing. That's the whole point. None of this is that's the worst part of the whole thing. It isn't a dark cloaked room in the middle of some torture dungeon.
Right.
It is literally just there in the public. Again, this goes back to what the scariest thing about Epstein was the fact that everyone knew. They've admitted everyone knew. After McCain's death, his wife came out and said, we all knew it was going on, but everyone was afraid to do something. This is them. This is them.
And I'm sure we will get into it a little bit later. And them, it's just not your average run-of-the-mill government millionaire, multi-millionaire. We're talking now about oligarchies, Jason, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about other countries. We're talking about people that have tens of trillions of dollars. We're talking about people that can probably pay off the national debt and still make $95 million a day in interest.
These are people who control wealth in the orders of magnitude that, again, a couple weeks ago, what did we mention? The derivative market is up to $1 quadrillion.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about. This is what we're talking. Okay. Holly asks, this is a great point. She asks, what does an oligarchy mean? So oligarchy means rule by the wealthy elite, essentially. An oligarch is that. It's someone who has political and financial power. And really the political power is born out of their financial power, right? So again, that's what we're talking about. It's where these people have so much wealth. But again, the thing is, they're moving between both screens. That's what we need to realize. This is not it's not this controlling that. It's a higher organization of people whose ideologies and leanings are allowing them to move between these. Birds of a feather flock together, right?
Yes, they do.
And that's what we're talking about.
These actually too are the same people that, we all talk about. There's so many different subjects we can toss and bandy about here, but it's even the same people that, everyone's thinking that, we had the processing plants we spoke on a few months back blowing up, right? Mysteriously, right?
Right. Exactly.
They want to control the wealth, as you mentioned, but they also want to control the famine.
Mm-hmm.
They want to have their finger, and which they do. They have their finger on every single thing that happens in the world today.
Yeah,
without a doubt. It has nothing to do with our leadership in the United States of America. It has nothing to do with the leadership in Persia, Russia, Germany. But there are factions within every country, that have their lead, not their leaders. Jason, how would you word it? It would have the eyes upon them, pushing their buttons.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of saying it. It's the eyes. Again, it is the deep, like there's the deep state, and then there's a deeper ideology, that and a deep oligarchy. I think that's a great way of. Look at you being just inspiring the greatness today.
You make me think on this show, man, like no other.
Well, don't worry. Next week, or not next week, because we're off next week. The week after, we're going to talk about dragons. It'll be fun.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about dragons.
Yeah, thank God. Thank Christ.
Yeah, like I said, it's like this was sort of the culmination. I'm sort of going this like I'm on a watch list now as I'm going through looking at everything. I'm
like, we are. We're on a watch list, man.
Oh yeah. Oh well, in what's I mean, okay, we talked about this last week, guys. We are being like there is some shadow banning going on. Like, just please understand. There's a lot of other stuff we can't even talk about. But yeah, we'll be talking about dragons not next week, but the week after. But back to this point, like there is a deep oligarchy, right? These are people who have an ideology. Back to the Rockefeller quote. The supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national autodetermination practice in past centuries. That is the ideology, that a one world government run by an elite. Remember, they see themselves as the elite, and world bankers. This would be preferable than having all these nations with quarreling.
Yeah,
that's it. That is what they believe.
And as you made mention earlier, talking about of the earlier statement and the quotes about having this not a secret. On the flip side of that, Jason, there are a lot of these organizations that proclaim to have humanity's interests at heart, right? They come off as, we're all for humanitarianism. But what they're really up to is totalitarianism, right?
Yeah.
That's
it.
They seek to rule the world, man, behind empty promises or empty, like going to space, making this a great country, or having a place for us to leave the planet in the event of Holocaust, or that's such a bad word to use, but event of invasion, or if the resources are depleted from the earth is probably the best way to say it. It's really not about that, is it? It's not about making the planet great. It's about controlling the wealth and really the weeding out and controlling our population.
Yeah. This is where everything connects. The Georgia Guidestones, all of this connects in this ideology of humanity. It needs to be controlled. Again, when we talked about the UN, right? What is the flag, right? The UN flag is the star and crescent from Nimrod. Yes. Again, I'm not. Remember, it is the Antichrist spirit. That is what's behind all of this. This is why they do these things. This is the ideology. But I want to talk about the physical level, right? Always remember, why are they? Because they are driven by this Antichrist spirit that wants to control all of humanity because it hates us. That's what they want. When we had Vincent on, right? He was talking, these are cultists. These are cultists. They are worshiping these things. Now, there are smaller groups, right, that worship different things, but the ultimate goal is control over humanity. They believe that humanity, they don't see value in you and me. When they see those of you who are watching this, they don't see value in you. They see value in themselves. They care about humanity, which they just see as cattle. They don't care about us at all. And what they'll say is, we care about humanity. If you do not value the individual, you don't value any of us. It is very, 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 very easy to say, I care about humanity, so long as what you really mean is it's me I care about. That's what they're saying. So what they're going to do is what they believe is best for the species.
Yes.
Yeah. Remember, when they talk about zero carbon, you're the carbon they want to reduce.
Yes. They want you to be combustible.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Please understand, when they, like, the whole ESG thing, right? It's like, oh, we care about the environment. Okay. Well, why don't we do things that would actually clean up the environment, or, promote things like nuclear power, which produces less? No, we can't do that. We can't actually clean anything up. What we need to do is milk money out of y'all through taxation. We need to control what cars you drive, where you can drive, when you can drive. It's not about a cleaner environment.
Oh, not at all. You think the
Yeah.
electric car was to come up with to save the environment?
Nope.
Control.
Yeah.
You know, Jason, we spoke back on another show that these cars are there are somebody that can shut your car off, the electric car,
Yeah.
at any time they want. You could be driving down the freeway, taking your pregnant wife to the hospital. They could shut it off in the middle of the freeway.
Yeah.
Now, are they going to do that? Well, not now, but can they do that? Absolutely, they can.
Yes. Yeah, because it's going to. There's
Now, that's
always the
frightening.
excuse. Yeah,
That's frightening.
Exactly. It is terrifying.
And it comes from smaller levels like the auto industry.
Mm-hmm.
Even the executives in the auto industry does not think this way. They're not told this. Of course, they're not. They think they're doing an American service by preventing pollution, emissions into our atmosphere, the green theory, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I spoke several years ago, I talk about that tower.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
On the freeway. Now we're getting into the mind control aspect. That tower, it looks like a big pine tree. It's not. It's a tower. And every time there's a certain section of the state of Michigan where you drive past it, not all the time, everybody, hear me out on this one, but there is something that goes on around this tower because this runs through a very elaborate, a very highfalutin neighborhood. The people that are on this freeway during this stretch, they've got money. They're not somebody that you would expect to start a freeway shooting and bickering over they're stuck in traffic.
Right.
Well, in the state of Michigan, right around this tower, it is the number one section of roadway in this state where there's shootings, road rage, and fatalities. And we're talking about people wearing suits. Not that if you don't wear a suit, I'm talking about just people in general that's not part of their game, right?
Yeah.
It's not in the inner city or the ghetto. It's in a highfalutin subdivision off the freeway. Now, studies have been shown, and there was a report in the Detroit News stating that some scientists well, they're not going to call him a scientist, Jason. What they called him was conveniently a quack.
Of course.
Because this quack says that this tower was emitting microwaves or radiation that affected and altered the way a person thought. And these people that committed these road rage incidents, that their mind was taken over. It was mind control. Now, of course, everyone, as I said, thought he had a loose screw and dismissed it. So now if you think back and take a look at that, Jason, it does not make any sense for people without records, people that aren't violent, people with pedigrees, people who have great livings. Does it really make sense for me to pull out a gun in the middle of the freeway and shoot you in the face because we're bumper to bumper? Am I going to do that, Jason?
No. And here's the thing. Maybe that would happen once or twice, right? Over a year's period. Like,
yes,
things happen, right?
Yes.
The problem is it's the overall level.
It's the amount. It was number one in my state. You'd expect it on the freeway, again, passing through low-income towns. And I apologize to anybody. I don't mean to offend anybody, but let's face it, that's where most of crime happens.
Yeah. Well, that's where they allow it. Like that's
another thing, you know.
That's another show altogether.
That's another great point. They wanted everybody to kill each other in these poverty-laden cities too. There's no doubt about it in my mind.
Oh yeah, we're like people are like, oh, it's going to be the Hunger Games. Guys, you're already living in the Hunger Games, but that's a whole other episode. I want to go to something you pointed out though. It's like, why is it this doctor who's saying, hey, this clearly artificial tower is at the center of all of this violent activity? Here is a rational reason as to why is that person a quack, right? Why is it that the people who are saying, hey, we're seeing weird things happen with as a result of particular how do I say this without getting banned? Certain things that have recently occurred. Okay. You say, hey, we got some issues here. immediately you're a quack, you're a nut job, you're a conspiracy theorist. And then what is it, 1-2 years later, now they're like, oh, by the way, everything that you said that we canceled you for, that's true. And we've got lawsuits now from insurance companies in Europe saying, hey, something's going on with this. We have again, I'm going to say very, very carefully, we have a lot, there are people who do the embalming, morticians, yeah, morticians. They're saying, hey, we're finding, again, I'm going to be very, very careful for the algorithm. They're finding they aren't really what you would think. They're finding material in veins that isn't supposed to be there. There are videos now of people saying, hey, there was one where it's like, there's a thing. He's like, what the hell is this? And he's pulling this thing out of his lip. People are finding things now. Again, the morticians, these things are coming out. But of course, you ask a question that goes against what the government wants, that goes against what big pharmaceuticals want. You're the crazy person. Remember, it was a conspiracy theorist who believed that the Bilderberg Group meetings were occurring. Now they publicly state them. You were a nut job for saying that there was a new world order that was being built up by the Rockefellers, and he's admitting to it. You're a conspiracy theorist if you say, hey, the news media is not telling you everything. They're absolutely hiding these things, and Rockefeller's admitting to it. Let's go back to the trillions and trillions of dollars, because we're getting close to where we have to say goodbye, sadly, to our Odyssey listeners. I want to share one chart or one thing for you real quick. I'm going to pop this up on the screen. I will read this out, though, for those who are listening. This is the, where'd it go? There we are. This is the Board of Trustees for the World Economic Forum. And I'm going to scroll all the way up so y'all can see I'm not making this up. This is their actual website. And Klaus Schwab, he's the founder and executive chairman, right? Let's look at some of the names. You know, some of these people you wouldn't necessarily recognize, but Lawrence D. Fink. If you don't know who Lawrence D. Fink is, he's also the chairman and chief executive officer of BlackRock, one of the multi-trillion-dollar investment firms that is also pushing things like ESG, which pushes and promotes things like green policy and social credit scores, things like that. Kristalina Georgieva, I'm a Texan, I've never pronounced anything correctly in my life. She's the managing director of the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF. This is literally this is like the bank nations go to for loans. Like if you're a developing nation and you're like, I would like to improve our economy, they're the ones who come in and say, well, here, we'll give you money. We'll help support your economy. By the way, here's all the things you can't do now. Here's all the things you will do now. The IMF when you get in bed with the IMF to support your economy because you want to be part of the liberal world order, that's not my statement. That is theirs. That is their claim. If you want to be part of it, you have to play by the IMF rules. Fabiola Gianotti. She's the Director General of the European Organization for Nuclear Research, aka CERN. Paula, oh, here we are. Freeland, Chrystia Freeland. She's the basically. Oh, they have such long names, but basically, Minister of Finance in Canada. I think she's also the Prime Minister now of Canada.
And half of these people aren't even American origins.
Yeah. What the heck is Yo-Yo Ma doing?
You know,
on the board, like people who control whole economies are like, hey, let's get Yo-Yo Ma in here. What? I'm just trying to figure it. But that also makes me look at Yo-Yo Ma and think, okay.
Be Kind says Al Gore's on that roster.
Yeah, he's right here. Al Gore. Right there. Al Gore.
Yeah, there he is.
And again, this dude makes so much money off of the green energy scam. Like, that is just nuts.
You talk about a VP that, again, not to talk politically, but my Lord.
Oh, yeah. L. Raphael Raif, president of MIT. Mark Schneider, chief executive officer of Nestle. Now you think, oh, you mean the guys who make chocolate? They make so much more. Nestle is, trust me, these are not. It's not just, oh, they make water and they make some chocolate bars. Nestle's way larger than that.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, these are Siemens, Jim Hagman Snabe of Siemens, chairman of Siemens. This is insane. Like, these are massive companies. These are people who control all kinds of things. That's the World Economic Forum. These are people who tell you you will own nothing by 2030. You will own nothing and you will be happy.
Yeah.
You
said, oh, you will own nothing.
Own.
Yeah, absolutely. And be happy. Yeah.
Yeah. And you will be happy. This is their ideology. Again, it's real easy to point at people like Klaus Schwab, like Bill Gates, and all of the things, right? It's easy to look at them because they're a part of it. They're doing these things.
Yes.
I'm going to put a pin right here because we're coming to the end of the 52-minute mark and we have to say goodbye to our Odyssey listeners. So if you want to hear the rest of this, because what's coming up next are y'all's comments and statements, and y'all have got some doozies in there. Love y'all. So we're going to be talking about that. So if you want to hear the rest of it, you got to come over to Texas Front Porch, TEX' Front Porch on YouTube. Like, follow, subscribe. We're not going to take a 5-minute break to everyone listening live. We're just going to take a brief moment and then we'll be right back because y'all are really great. This is amazing. But again, Odyssey, coming over. We love y'all. It's going to be great. The long story short here is, who are they? They are right out in the open. Don't worry about some secret club or some secret handshake because they're able to do this. And I'm certain those things do exist. I'm not saying they don't, but what I'm saying is they get it done in the daylight.
Yes. You
have power as an individual. We have power. We are who they are afraid of. You don't have to put up with it. We are what they are afraid of. This is why they're doing what they do. Don't buy into the idea that you don't have power. Guys, we'll see you on the other side of this. So again, you want to hear this? Come on over to Texas Front Porch.
And of course, we're streaming on Bigfoot,
Michigan Rob.
Be back in a minute.
Okay, we're live. Sorry, we have to give that break for Randy. Or do you want to take the 5-minute break, Rob?
Well, we could give her a little break. I got to stretch my leg real quick, and I got to actually let the dog out. You know how that goes.
Okay, I understand. Well, actually, so funny thing, my dog was just ran in here. My wife just gave her a bath, and she ran in here to hide because she was clean. So I understand.
You know, it's funny though with all the shows that we do, and I'm sitting here in the studio area, and the dog kind of senses when we come up on an hour because he'll come down the stairs and he'll look right at, and he'll sit there and he waits for me. Because we traditionally do the 5-minute break on the longer shows. And he knows. I mean, he's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'll let him out right quick.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and take this 5-minute break. So smoke him if you got him.
Oh, folks. You know, you might as well show the new Tex and I tried it yesterday and he messed up. But then he finally got it together. So I think we have the new one with the booze on it.
I think we do. Let me try that. All right, we'll be back in 5, folks.
All right.
Four minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. 3 minutes. We're almost there. Two-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. One minute. 1 minute.
We're back, but before we get back into the conversation and take y'all's chats, I just want to say thank you to y'all personally, because again, y'all are the best on the internet, and we do appreciate y'all. We love y'all, and just the only thing we ask again, if you're watching on replay, just drop a little chat, a little comment that says "good show" or "we hate you," your face is ugly, whatever. It's cool. I mean, I know you're lying about my face being ugly. We know. But it's fine. Whatever. It helps with the algorithm, and share us out to your friends, your loved ones, your enemies, that person you don't talk to, but it's still on your friends list because you went to high school together 30 years ago. It's fine. We're here for all. We're here for all. So with that, let me bring Bigfoot Michigan Rob back up. How you doing, Rob?
Yes, Jason. And I was going to make a comment that I've been working with you now for maybe close to 2 years. And I must say, Jason, your face is such an improvement. You're doing a good job, my friend.
Well, thank you. Yes.
And I didn't mean that as a snide remark either.
I know. I'm working on it. I'm probably going to lose a lot more weight in the next few months. I think it'll be a little bit more obvious. And I will admit, I doctor's appointment yesterday. Actually, no, it was this morning. And we were going over some numbers, and they are very pleased with me. I'm apparently doing quite well at the moment. So,
well, your hard work is paying off.
Well, I got to be sexy for the peoples.
Becoming, excuse me. I'd hate to say this, and I don't mean this in an arrogant way, but when you become media personalities, you know what I'm
Is that what you think we are?
I've been told we are. It's not even coming from me.
That's fair. Let's okay, real quick. There's one quick thing. Holly, who is Randy? Randy's our technical troll.
Yes.
He used to come on the show a little bit more often, but he's got a job. He needs to make money.
Yeah, good old Rando. I met Randy in Jefferson, Texas. I met him, obviously like this, visually over the internet. And I got to tell you, he picked me up from the Dallas airport, Jason, and about a 3-hour ride in, like you drove me from to the airport. I tell you, he showed me as many things as he could in that 3-hour ride. And I got to tell you, he's a great guy. We stopped at this big store, man, and it had like everything under the umbrella in it.
That would be Buc-ee's.
Yes, Buc-ee's. If you're traveling down south, Buc-ee's is the place that you've got to see.
Oh yeah, Buc-ee's is a must. It's a Texas thing. Though it's growing. It's in Georgia now, I think, and I know it's definitely in Florida. I've got friends in Florida who are like, "Man, what's this Buc-ee's thing?" I'm like, "Oh, y'all don't even know." Like and if you get a chance to go to Buc-ee's, the number one thing you have to take is the beaver nuggets.
Yeah, and we got those. And you know what happened, Jason? This is a true story. We bought the beaver nuggets. Well, first I'd like to say, if we would have had time, everybody listening, if we would have had time, but we were on time constraints, I could have dropped several dollars in that place. There's so much cool stuff in there, man. But getting back to the beaver nuggets, we bought a bag. Rob, you got to try these. So it was still earlier in the morning. So we got a couple coffees. We got some beaver nuggets. I also got some of the jerky. They had some jerky displayed. And I got a breakfast sandwich because I was like famished, right? We were in Texas for 3 days. And those damn beaver nuggets were still sitting in the middle console of his car. They got so hot that we said, "Oh my God, Rob, you forgot these." We go to open that bag, it damn near exploded. And it was the worst damn thing I ever ate in my life. And he assured me, Rob, that's my fault. We should have ate them when we bought them because, yes, they're not meant to be sitting out in 175-degree weather inside of a car.
No, they are not. Yeah, and essentially for those who are, what is a beaver nugget? It is it is sugar. They're puffed corn. They are amazing. They're sugar. I mean, so hold on. To Emma Louie. Yes. Reducing sugar and carbs, walking every day. That is what I'm doing. And beaver nuggets are the exact opposite of that. They are sugar they are just pure sugar in 12 different varieties, but they are absolutely delicious. But yes, you went to a Buc-ee's and they have the cleanest restrooms ever.
I did make a stop, and I tell you what.
Yep.
I'm not going to say that you could eat off the floor, but if you had to, you could.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it. I certainly wouldn't recommend it, but
yeah, just again, for liability, we are not recommending you eat off the floor of Buc-ee's, but you could.
Now the floor of the Waffle House in Alabama that we visited was quite disgusting. However,
that's how you know it's a good one.
However, and I never been to a Waffle House either. And again, when I was with you guys in Alabama, see, the great thing about what we do, you guys, I get to travel with Tex and Jason and Randy and Bobby. And they show me all these great Southern places. Again, the Waffle House, you guys, fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, the Waffle House is a thing. Again,
and I had the breakfast bowl with all the sausage and jalapenos and Tex. He had a piece of his waffle left. Said, "Rob, you haven't ordered a waffle." I go, "No, there's so much to order." He was kind enough to share me his. Of course, it was cold, but you know what? It didn't matter because it was fantastic as well.
Oh yeah, you had grits, right? With
I had it. Yeah, I had everything that I've never had here. Us Yankees.
Yep. So, but yes, again, you do not want to eat off the floor at a Waffle House. If you can eat off the floor at a Waffle, if the floor is clean at a Waffle House, get out. That is not a Waffle House.
You're gonna get some bad food. I take it.
Yeah, exactly. I think we already mentioned this, but I love it. Plot twist: Jason is they. It's true.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, well,
So, to Donnie Cho, is they a thing or is they a number of things? Yes. Ultimately, that's the thing it is. Yeah, they are a thing. It's just they're a number of things, but it's grouped by this broader ideology. And the simple fact of the matter is they are operating in many, many levels in many different ways, but they are being protected by the media. We actually have far more power than we realize. The problem is we've been trained to think that we don't. It's called learned helplessness.
Yes.
Titan says, Jason/Rob, what would y'all say are some of the verifiers and indicators of they? How do we know they are dealing with us? Well, I've got a chart for that.
Yes, you do, don't you, Jason?
Yes, I do. Let me throw this up here. So this, for those who don't know, and by the way, this is not their total assets, but this is the $1 trillion club of asset managers. So these are companies that manage assets. Okay. You probably can't read all this, but this total is $29.8 trillion or more than our GDP. The two largest slices, which are here, is Vanguard Group and BlackRock Incorporated. Then you have State Street Global Advisors, Fidelity Investments, JP Morgan Asset Management, and then it goes down from there, right? So this is more than the GDP of the planet, not the planet, but of the United States of America. And these are the companies that control this asset management, these portfolios. They invest in things. Essentially, everything that you are handling or dealing with, unless it's an individual small business, is owned in part by these corporations right here. Basically, these first 5 corporations. Now, again, they all own the same businesses. That's the thing, is they all buy stocks and shares in the same businesses. And these people all know each other. They are all, even if they're not on this, like the Vanguard and BlackRock, I was looking, they don't have a lot of overlap as far as directly, but some of their board members are members on other boards. And by the way, Vanguard and BlackRock are invested in one another. The easiest way to know this is sort of the way I've come to it. How do I know it? How do you know it's a they? It's not necessarily about whether or not they're billionaires or millionaires or any of that, right? There's 2 classes, because a lot of these people aren't billionaires and millionaires. They're upper middle class, right? Mm-hmm. Here's the question. The only question you need to ask: do they make their money because the government allows them to make their money? When we talk about Twitter, right? What was it? Oh, it's a private company. No, it's not. I mean, it is technically a private company, but we know now for a fact, not that we didn't already know it, but we know now that the government was talking to them directly saying, do this, right? We want you to cancel these people. Amazon, their money is not, they didn't make, Jeff Bezos isn't sending rockets into space because he bought books from him or slippers through their, it's the servers. Facebook, Twitter, it's the metadata that they're selling and giving to the government. That's where all this is coming from. Mm-hmm. Is there money coming from the military industrial complex? Yes or no? This is why there are people who are legitimate billionaires who are not part of the club, because that's not the game that they're playing. They live in the real economy, our economy, the economy we exist in. These people, like your Jeff Bezoses, your Bill Gateses, all these people we've been discussing, they make their money on the dark side of this, where the governments decide who wins and who loses.
Yeah.
That's how you know.
Yeah. And too, Jason, with that theory, mm-hmm. or what you've come up with there, which I agree with, and you talk about the middle class, average American.
Mm-hmm.
It even answered the preceding question, the last question. Do you think that the average person, Jason, mm-hmm. is unknowingly a member of they without even knowing?
It's not that is a great question. That's a great question. And that's I think the big takeaway from everything is, are we they? And the answer to that is, again, yes and no. I'm going to jump ahead to one of the questions because this is a great observation, and I think it's valid. It says, what if the entire U.S. It's MLB again. What if the whole U.S. economy is one big Ponzi scheme? See, here's the problem, and this is where it goes back to yes or no. We used to have an actual economy. We did. The Federal Reserve and many other things. It's never one step. It's always multiple steps, right? That's what's made it the Ponzi scheme. They've moved we used to have a solid idea of, we actually had stable money. We had a stable currency. As they've created the petrodollar, as we've gone to a centralized financial system, it's made us a part of this Ponzi scheme. And the thing is, we don't even realize that we're a part of it half the time. To your point, are we they? Yes and no. We're not the ones making these calls. We're not the ones making these decisions. We're trying to get out of it. But are we supporting the system? Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
ultimately.
We obviously don't. We're not members, but we
Right,
inadvertently are. What we are is we are subscribing to it through the use of.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And other things. I mean, we've discussed this again on the show. Technology is a. Is it a beautiful evil, Jason?
It is. No, it absolutely is. In fact, there is a great comment that I think works. So Be Kind had this one. This ties into what we're talking about. They are engineering the quote unquote free market to their best interest, not the public's best interest.
Absolutely.
Again, a free market can't be manipulated. That's the whole point. That's why that's why I started the whole thing off with people who move between government and business and back and forth, right? That's the point. They are manipulating the market. We don't have a free market. If there's one takeaway, understand we don't have a free market. We have a manipulated, centralized market and centralized economy. They pick the winners and losers. They decide through regulation and taxation what's what. And where is that comment? Here, it's a question, but this goes back to what we're talking about, right? It's like, are we a part of this system? Are we ultimately they? So Doris asks, I've heard I own my own home, but not the land it sits on. True or false? Well, I can actually answer that because this is the industry I'm in. And this ties into what I'm about to tell to Rob's question, which is why I looked for it, because it's a great question. Property taxes mean you never own your property. If I can pay everything off and I decide not to pay my property taxes to the United States government, or to your local, it's not the federal government, it's going to be, for property taxes, it's going to be your local administrators, right? But if I can't pay my property taxes, the government, the state government, can come in and seize my land. I don't own that. The government owns that. Now, we will say legally we own it. Well, of course we own it. But if they can take it, in actuality, you don't own it. You are renting it. You are leasing it from them. And this goes back to my point, because Rob, great question. Are we they? Are we participants in the system? Yes. Does that make us a part of it? In so much that a slave is a part of the same system. We are wage slaves. That is what we are.
Yeah, that doesn't taste very good, does it, Jason?
It doesn't. We are, again, the 87,000 IRS agents. Yeah. The FBI, that's for the big people. Those 87,000 agents, they're coming for you, because I love the new version of Dune that they came out with Timothy Chalamet or whatever. The scene where Baron Harkonnen says, he's like, I've destroyed all my enemies. It's a paraphrase. I only have one requirement: revenue. That is your government right now. The United States government is Baron Harkonnen in that scene. It's damaged, it's diseased, and it needs money. And it's not going to get. Dave Chappelle, had a really interesting opening monologue on SNL. I haven't watched SNL in 30 plus years now. They haven't been funny forever. But I saw this because a lot of people were talking about it, so I went and I saw just the opening monologue. And Dave Chappelle had, I'll again, algorithms stuff. I'll just say it was really, really interesting. And he had some really interesting observations. I'll leave it at that. But it does tie into what we're talking about. The United States government is rigged, and it's rigged against us. It's rigged for them, for those who will play ball. And one of the lines that he had was, he was talking about, the Trump-Hillary debate and how Hillary was like, you're not paying your taxes. And he says, that makes me smart, right? He was and Chappelle's whole point was, he was that he was watching the debates and he's like, I've never heard anyone say this line. He goes, you could actually tax me, but you won't do it because you enjoy the same tax breaks I do. And your friends and your donors enjoy the same tax breaks I do. Everyone can, why aren't these people paying their fair share? That's a whole different conversation I want to get into. But the point is, all of the tax breaks people, that the politicians, I use that in quotation mark, they'll complain about, they're the ones who put them in there to protect themselves, because our government is not here to protect us. It's here to protect them. Note when we had all those riots 2 years ago, they let the cities burn. They let the neighborhoods burn, but they made certain that they protected the wealthy areas where the politicians, they always have police protection. They live in gated communities.
Yeah.
They won't, the police are not going to come to Uvalde. Uvalde. I love police. I really do. I love the fact that y'all, but please understand, if it's a politician, they are showing up. If it's you, you better be armed, because they will show up when it's appropriate. They will protect your city when the government believes it needs to be valued and needs to be protected. Otherwise, you're on your own. The system is there now to protect them, not you. We are the powerful ones here. We have to remember that. It's just, we're not powerful in the system. Speaking of systems, hey, Tex. He always wondered why, or what, qualified Hillary to be, for Secretary of State. It's the CIA. We've talked about that. She's CIA from the Rose Law Firm. Remember, the CIA uses law firms, banks, things like Twitter, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Google. That's how they work.
Yeah.
Arlene, John C. Bogle owns Vanguard, the second largest investment company in the world, yet his name never gets mentioned anywhere. Someone that powerful that stays out of the limelight in news worries me. Arlene,
great point.
There are people whose names I can't find because they're not publicly available. There are individuals that control trillions of dollars.
Yes.
You will never find them.
And just like we talked about earlier, the oligarch being an individual and the oligarchy being a subsidiary, if you will, these people, you will never know any of their names, will we, Jason? Maybe a handful, but the vast majority of these people, they have so much money, it's unfathomable, and they remain disappeared and will never be traced.
Yep. Oh, exactly. And again, this is why I'm saying, it's like, I'm trying to give y'all the public version so y'all understand it's the layer that you can't see. That's where everyone's working. Again, it's the stuff it's the universities, it's the think tanks. These are the people that dream these things up. But there's a level there that we won't see because we can't. They make certain of it. That's why I read that Rockefeller quote about how he is publicly talking about this and the media hides that. What do you think the people who don't want to be found, who control trillions of dollars, what do you think they're doing? Overbuilt says, What's sad is their greed makes the world more, suck more. If they flipped it, better building, card, just better world for them to see, but evil blinds them. Yeah. Here's the worst part of it. All of these people could legitimately make if they actually care. There's a scene. There's a cartoon. It's called All Star Superman. It's a movie. And it's based on comics. It's based on a comic book. It's a standalone book. It's my favorite Superman movie, because it captures sort of the old school vibe. There's a scene where Lex Luthor, I'll spoil the climax a little bit, not too much of it, but he gets Superman's powers, and he gets to see what he sees, how reality actually works. And he's like, I could have saved them. I could have changed everything. And Superman just looks at him and says, if it had mattered to you at all, you could have done it at any time. These people could change the world and make this a paradise that fast. Obviously there's always evil in the world, but what I'm saying is, as good as we could make it, they could make it.
Absolutely.
They don't.
And that's a topic for another show. But isn't that, it's ridiculous. It really is how these people think. Because if that was me, everybody in the world there would be no poverty. There would be no famine. Our veterans would be taken care of, not sitting on a stump panhandling.
Mm-hmm.
It is sad states, man.
It is. No, that's, again, the worst part is fixing things is actually kind of easy. But the problem is that doesn't get you power. Empowering us to fix things doesn't give you power. They want power.
These people are all about power, nothing else.
And again, it goes back to what we said at the very beginning, because of who their father actually is. These people are Luciferians. They literally worship Satan. Yes, Jeff. Again, there's a reason the UN flag is literally the star and crescent from Nimrod. It's what it is. It's the Antichrist spirit.
And before I forget with these questions, I have one other thing I want to bring up. We did a show. We're talking about who are they, and we had another. We did so many shows on this. Do you remember, Jason, when we talked about the DoD space program? And the emblems on the flights, on the pilots' jackets, was that of
the patches?
The patches were some of the pyramids, the one-eyed pyramid, which was back in the time in ancient Egypt was actually something that was worshipped.
Yes.
And not in a good manner.
Yeah. Exactly.
And they proudly display them. In fact, you can look those up online again as something that's freely displayed.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just one of the patches, Jason. There was several of
all
them.
Kinds. Yeah. Again,
nothing of them. Nothing had to do with freedom.
Mm-mm.
Nothing. It had nothing to do with America. It had to do with, frankly, some secret society activity.
Yeah. Well, again, look at CERN. What in the world does all of this stuff that they have? Like, what does this have to do with anything? It doesn't. Not if it's just a scientific endeavor. Because it's not. That's the thing. It's like ultimately, again, there is that dark connection that we've talked about for a long time between technology and the occult. Lurks a lot. Social credit score, climate justice, etc. Yes, this is again Vanguard, BlackRock, the World Economic Forum.
Again, we talked about the cashless society. We've covered everything that's being brought up.
Yeah. Social credit score, where they literally just look at you and they're like, oh, we don't like you, so you can't buy things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we don't like your friends, so your social credit score is going to go down until you change your friends. That's the kind of stuff they're talking about.
And, it was first implemented, too. If you remember back when, I remember when I turned 16, when I got my driver's license, there was no strip on the back of it. And then they came up with a strip and everybody said, well, if you were to be pulled over, what the police officer does, he takes your license. Instead of typing out the numbers, of course, it's technology, and they run your card through the magnetic indicator in their vehicle. Fine, it pulls up your driving record. Okay. But what was the other reasoning for that on your driver's license? It started the tracking system.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Absolutely, it did.
Oh yeah, there are people right now walking around that have actual microchips in their hands and other parts of their bodies to control things, to buy things. This is what they. I mean, this is what they want. I mean, it's funny when I'm listening to people like Tim Pool, who's a leftist. He's a liberal, not a leftist, but he's a liberal. When they start talking about like the vaccine passports, and he's like, and he's not a Christian at all. He's like, this sounds like the stuff I'm reading about from the Book of Revelation. What's going on?
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
And you
this
know,
is
it's yeah,
yeah.
absolutely, Jason. And even, we all walk around with their cell phones, and most of us, even without, and it's
Mhm.
not your choice where you're gonna be paying with everything on your cell phone. You're gonna
Yep.
you're gonna scan your cell phone. Hell, we all do it now. You scan things every day at the grocery store, and then some people pay with their phone. I'm still not doing that
Yeah, I'm not
because
doing that either.
I don't think I'm ever gonna do that until that's the only way I can pay.
Hmm.
But the thing about that is this, and I suppose it can be done right now, regardless of your cell phone, but they can stop your bank account at any time, freeze your assets at any time.
Yeah. Well, we saw it happen with the truckers, right? The Canadian
Yes,
truckers.
we did.
We
Absolutely, we
watched that
did. They
happen. Like this
froze
is
their they froze their
yeah,
all their yes, they did.
it froze their assets. Like
Froze their assets.
this is
And
again,
even
yeah.
if you were a member of that party, and it's like I could have
Mhm.
been a member and not told anybody, but they knew that I was, and my stuff was
Mhm.
frozen. How the
Yeah.
hell did they find that out? Right? Come
Yeah.
on, they're everywhere.
Oh yeah. Well, this is what they're going for. Again, this is what the social credit score is. The Fed literally just launched, I think it was today or yesterday, they're beginning to do their own, essentially it's like a cryptocurrency, but it's their own digital currency. Like trust me, when you have like people y'all don't digital currency is the worst thing on the planet because they are going to
Yeah, there you go.
Mhm. Yeah. Hey guys, again, this is where they're going. They want control. It is complete control. Holly. Sometimes I think the whole going green thing is representing the pale rider. Maybe I'm way off on that. Holly, I wouldn't disagree per se. I think there's some validity to that. Something when we on Siri, we're going to be doing some videos on Revelation, so we will talk about that. Because again, I'm not 100%. I don't like a lot of the interpretations for the writers. That's valid. For those who are wondering, but hold on, if it's pale, how can it be green? The word in Greek is chloros, where we get chlorophyll from. It's a pale green. That's the actual color. It's sort of it's the green that a body turns when it dies. So, but it's literally a pale green. Red tail hawk. Nothing will stop the fourth industrial revolution. Yes, and if you're unaware of the fourth industrial revolution, what he's referring to is the last industrial revolution is when we were able to mechanize things, right? Factories, stuff like that. The fourth is computers and robotics replacing all of us. That's where we're at, and that's what
AI.
we're in the process of right now.
Yeah, AI.
Yep. Iran currently uses biometrics to enforce, this is from MLOE, Sharia law. Women wearing hair coverings is programmed into computer systems and cameras. Iran also uses biometrics to ration food. Yes. China is also working on all kinds of things. Like the biometrics from these cameras are insane. They can, it's temper. They want to be able to control, well, not troll. They want to be able to know your mood. Facebook, again, what they're going to do is they're going to start tying all these things together with your cell phone, your smart, your social media, and these cameras. They'll be able to judge your mood, who you're talking to, what you want. Facebook knew that a woman was pregnant before she did because that's how good their algorithms are.
Yeah, and it was always cool. I thought a couple of years ago when I was walking in Kroger with my phone, and I was just, but the funny thing, and then I didn't think about it until recently. I was thinking about where's I don't know what it was. I was looking for hot sauce, I guess. And I was in a store that I wasn't familiar with. It was a Kroger, but
Mhm.
the layout was different. So I'm thinking, I didn't even utter it out loud, Jason. But I thought the phone's in my head. And I thought, where the hell is the hot sauce? I use that Cholula that you and text like.
Oh yeah, love me some Cholula.
And my phone vibrates in my hand. I look, there's a message, and it said Kroger message popped up, and it said aisle 13. And I went down aisle 13, and guess what I found? Jason, I didn't utter it. I didn't speak it. I thought it.
Yeah. They
This
knew
was
what you
2
were-
months, and they knew what I
Yeah.
was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Now that
Mhm.
is wild. I don't have an adjective to describe that.
No. Nor should you. Jeff Adams, Amazon didn't make money for the first 10 years they were in business. That is correct.
Absolutely.
It was, and how do you think they were able to run for 10 years before they started making money?
They were funded by somebody.
Mm-hmm. Because again, their money is not coming from the sales of these things. That's the face. It's the servers. That's where it's their service. That's where they're making their money, and that's where their control comes from. Higher up, or Be Kind says, the higher up you trace the threads, the more incestuous the connections. Exactly. Oh, and again, this whole FTX thing, that's nuts. Like who all is doing? Yeah, it's yeah, that's nuts. Mark Fitzgerald, does the top they carry Nephilim blood? Good question. I don't think the blood, but I do think that I think the demons they associate with. Now, that being said, there may be some.
Now, of course, in our show we did last night with Duke talking
Mhm.
about that subject, the bloodline is so diluted, right?
Yeah.
That it could be there, but it has nothing to do with it. But now you say the other things associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different story.
Yeah. Because remember, the Nephilim never left. They just became demons, and
Right.
they are working with them and through them. Again, the star and crescent is a Nephilim sign, and I'll do another video on that for Siru, for those who wonder what that is, because I've talked about that a lot, but it is a Nephilim symbol. It's actually what it stands for. Doris Downs. Please explain eminent domain. Okay, I can do this quickly. Eminent domain is the idea that that there are some times when when something is a public good, like building a road, that's the idea. And that if you aren't willing to sell your property, at a fair price, that the government can come and take it from you and give you whatever amount that's why it was created. It's like sometimes they're just things for the good of society that need to be purchased. However, in actuality, what it is whoever the government favors will get your property. The greatest example of that is Jerry World over in Arlington. They will use it. It's supposed to be a private company, right? It's the Dallas Cowboys. They're worth billions of dollars. There was a woman who would not sell, and they used eminent domain to take her property. And the Supreme Court has validated this kinds of activity. Eminent domain is supposed to be a public use, like a road, for a public good, and they have turned it into, if the government wants your property, they will take it away from you because it will benefit someone who's going to, again, give them money one way or the other. Emma Louis, the rich people will live in nature. They will control the poor via surveillance and smart cities. Smart cities are developed by IBM. Whole cities will be private cities. Yes, that is what they're working on. There's a reason why they want to bring, again, we talked about this like last week. The whole green movement, these stupid electric cars are to put everyone in these cities so they can be controlled. These electric cars are not green in any way. They are terrible for the environment, but that's how they're selling it to the population, so that essentially we get trapped within the new concentration camp, which is the city.
Yeah, and like we were saying earlier, they have the ability to shut it off, because right now you go in your car, if you have your cell phone on you, which 99.9% of us do, it's being tracked where you go in your car anyway. This is just another step to control your vehicle.
Yeah.
Nope.
Exactly. A lot of great comments, but we're coming to the end. Okay, so real quick, Holly, I'll do a special Siru just for that. You don't need to. Okay. The very short answer is you don't need to be worried about it. I'll do an entire thing I'll do a short video on Siru for you. In fact, I'll do it this weekend. So don't worry about it, Holly. You're fine. That's not what it's talking. It is talking about idols for worship. That is really what it's talking about. And I'll prove it. I'll bring the receipts. Last comment is going to be from our lovely, illustrious, and curvaceous Tex Aria.
Oh, jeez.
Tech, Jason, don't ever say anything about me bringing Brown Springs into every conversation. You and your comic references. Tex, no, I will still chastise you for your Brown Springs comments. My comic references are amazing. They are wonderful, and everyone loves them. Everyone loves them.
You know, Tex, I think I might have to side with my partner here today. Of course, you're my partner, but well, we'll talk off air. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, we'll have a meeting.
Everyone loves.
We'll have a special meeting.
Exactly. And Donnie's back. Donnie's going to back me up on this. So, yes, people love my comic references. All right, guys, y'all are great.
Absolutely, great.
This was an amazing show. I'm glad this is sort of like the one we're gonna kick off, our little vacation on for this. So again, we won't be here next week on this show because it's Thanksgiving, guys. Spend some time with your families, your loved ones, or just taking a nap. Man, I mean, we're all burning ourselves at both ends. So trust me, I get it, man. Let's use this time to recharge. And again, we love. Yes, it is.
Oh, there you have it. It's from an audience member.
Duke, the great Duke himself.
Yeah, thank you.
You're
gonna have to wait. Just leave that. There you go.
Yeah, well,
and I'd like to say happy Thanksgiving. This is the Wednesday show, and I know a lot of you guys do follow our channels. Please subscribe to all of us. But for those of you that don't, and that's fine. Happy Thanksgiving to you, because again, we won't be here Wednesday. So to all the people out there listening now, and everybody in the chat, I know it's a week early, but we're on once a week on Wednesday, obviously. So happy Thanksgiving, and thank you. Like, share, subscribe.
Exactly. Like, follow, subscribe, share us out. That's the number one thing y'all can do.
Leave a comment. Leave a
comment. And we love every single one of y'all. And we will catch y'all on this show, not next week, but the following week. It's going to be great. We're going to talk about dragons. Y'all love it.
The new series.
I
think we put they to bed for the last time.
Yeah, I think we're done with them for a while anyway. So for a while, because they always like to show back up. But we're talking about dragons.
But you do know, Jason, the questions do arise on Jason McLean. Questions everything.
Love it.